My name is Joe Thompson. I'm the head football coach at Oakton High School in Vienna, Virginia. Today we're putting together a film for you that deals with how to use multiple front defenses in order to stop primary offensive threats. This idea came about when we were asked by Nike to do a Coach of the Year clinic in Tysons, Virginia in the winter of 2005. We had just completed a state championship run where we had faced several premier offensive players with national recognition, and we had devised defenses that were unique to their offense each week, and that seemed to generate a lot of interest in how we did it. So what we would like to do is go through for you some of the things that we've done here at Oakton High School, some of our base principles, and then how we were able to articulate to our kids how to get out of that base look and get into something different that would stop premier players. We had three main objectives that we wanted to convey to the coaches there. One is we want to be flexible with our scheme. We wanted to talk you into, as a defensive coach or a head coach, and being flexible with your scheme. We'd love for you to be flexible with your personnel, and also we really think that the best way to play defense is take the game out of the hands of the opponent's premier player. Before we get started with the film and the lecture, we wanted to let you know we have some core defensive principles that no matter what defensive front we were in or what coverage we were in, we were able to keep these principles intact. First is alignment. We want the players to know where they should be lined up prior to the snap of the ball. The second is assignment. Once the ball is snapped, we want them getting off to their assignment and understanding their reads. The third thing that we do is we want our athletes on the defensive side of the ball to pursue the ball no matter where they are on the field. Always we want to keep that as a core principle. Also, tackling, being tough, being able to get to the ball and tackle and finish off a tackle is key to our defensive principles. We tackle every day in practice. We want our kids to be able to tackle in tough situations against tough offensive players. And finally, we want our defensive players to communicate. All players on the field should know where they are at all times. They talk to each other. We have great communication not only on the field, but from sideline to field, from player to player and player to coach. No matter the changes that you make in your defensive front or in your defensive coverage, make sure you stay true to your most basic principles. Understand what your principles are and stay true to those. The way we got started in this is that, Plato says that the necessity is the mother of invention, and that is true. We had to come up with a defensive style and a defensive game plan that was going to stop, initially in the regional championship, a running back that has just signed a full ride to Penn State University. He had scored 90 touchdowns in his career. He had done so many times against us, in fact, and we wanted to come up with a way that we were going to be able to stop their offensive scheme. So out of necessity, we had to step outside of our comfort zone. And those types of things are hard to do, especially for a defensive coach. You want to get into your base alignment. You want to stay in there and say that no matter what the situation, our defense is aligned to stop it. But we recognized right away we weren't able to do that. We were able to succeed because we were confident that we could teach our kids, and we were confident the players would buy into this defensive change. And we kept our defensive principles and our core objectives in mind no matter what changes we made week to week. Okay, program-wide, some of the keys to our success, we believe, is that we let our coaches coach. As a head coach, I want to give ownership to each and every assistant coach that I have. We work hard to do that. The ideas flow freely. There's no offense and defensive division there. Before we go much further, I wanted to lay out for you some of the keys to our success, we believe, since I've been here at Oakton High School. The first thing is, as a head coach, I want to let my coaches coach. I encourage all the coaches to speak up and bring their ideas to the table, and we try to work them in to our game plan week to week. I believe that gives the coaches some ownership and some buy-in to our program. In addition to that, it erases any division between offense and defense. If the offensive coaches have a plan on how to best stop a runner, they are encouraged to speak up and get involved, vice versa on the defensive side of the ball. The second thing we do is we teach our athletes to become students of the game. They watch plenty of film. They do a lot of work on the practice field so that they are aware of situations, they're aware of what's going on around them, and they have a high football IQ. The next thing we do, just like in all educational settings, is we teach the big picture to the kids. We let them see through video, through film work, through work on the chalkboard, and then work on the field, what the big picture is. And then the next thing we do is we teach each position their role in that big picture. So we do a kind of a whole part whole attack on how we're going to make our players better, football players, when they're in difficult situations. Film work is also an important part of what we do. We watch plenty of film all week long. We make sure we end every practice with film sessions and scout film work. We watch our own film to break it down and to use that as a teaching tool and improve from week to week. The last thing we do is we give our student athletes, a frame of reference. We want them to understand from one week to the next where they're lined up, how it's like what they've done before, how it's like what they're going to see in the future. So they always have a positive frame of reference for where they are in the defensive scheme. The first thing we'd like to show you, I think it's important that you know, is what our base defense was when we started out our season, what we've run for a long time. We've been very successful in this defense, and we don't believe that we've scrapped this defense. We just believe we've added some wrinkles to it to get going. But in order to understand all the changes we made and how simple we made those changes, I think it's important that you understand our base defense first. Our base defense is a 4-4 defensive front. We call it up G. As you can see on the slide, we try to put our nose and our tackle to the front. What we do is we put our nose in a 1 technique, our tackle is in a 3 technique on the strong side guard. Our SAM end sits on a 7 inside eye of the tight end, and the end on the weak side is in a wide 5 coming off the edge. In our 4-4, we walk our base defense. We walk our outside linebackers up. We call them the rover and the whip. They play 2-by-1 off of the last man on line of scrimmage. However, their first 2 steps are punch-out steps. They are pass players. So they're reading the last man on the line of scrimmage to get a run-pass read. If they get a run read, they will step up and play the line of scrimmage. Our Mike and backer also sit inside. The Mike splits the stance of the nose guard, and the backer lines up in the C-split, or the over top of the tackle. This allows us to cover all gaps in our defense, and then we can move from that front into different blitz packages. But as far as our alignment goes, that's our base 4-4 defense. Out of our up G, we have a couple slight variations. We call this a G look on our defense when we make our defensive call. All we really do is we walk our backers off the ball so that they are now 4 yards off the ball in alignment with the inside backers. The outside, the rover, and the whip are off the ball here and in alignment with the feet of the inside linebackers. The next thing that we want to talk about with you is our basic cover principles. We have a few different coverages that we go through in our defensive backfield. The first one is what we call a cover 0. So we're in a G look here with our front 7, and we call cover 0 in the back. As you can see, it's a simple cover 3 philosophy. Our corners and free safety are responsible for deep thirds, and then our linebackers are the outside linebackers get to the flats, and the inside linebackers are at hook curl zones. Our cover 2 is a little bit more complicated. It is designed to allow the corners to cover the deep halves of the football field, and the free safety is now free truly to rob certain routes that we see. Aside from our base cover 0 look, the 3 deep look, we have a 2 deep look that's a little bit more complicated than a straight 2 look. It is inverted. The corners are responsible for deep halves. The linebackers, as you can see, the rover and whip, are still responsible for flat. The Mike and backer are still responsible for hook and curl. However, the free safety now is free to what we call, he's a robber player at this point. He is reading the release of number 2 strong and getting to his assignment based on that release. We note in this slide that if you get to a 3 receiver look, what we do, we check our defensive coverage to what is called we call a sink coverage. It is essentially a quarter, half, 3 deep coverage. The next coverage out of our base defense is a man coverage. We call it 6 free. Again, you can see that we lock up with our corners and our backers on the receivers, leaving our free safety free to rob. That gives us an opportunity to game plan team's best receivers and provide help where needed. Okay, what we'd like to do is show you a few clips of our base defense alignment. This is a film against L.C. Bird out of Richmond, Virginia. This is in the state semifinal game. L.C. Bird was a power run team, very good at what they do. This is their third appearance in the state title, very physical team. We're in our base alignment. You can see to the tight end side here, this guy is heavy on the tight end. He's in a 7 technique. We have him in a 3. Our nose is in a 1. We have a wide 5 here. You can see his foot. Both backers are on the line of scrimmage. They should get punch-out steps. Our linebackers are aligned 4 yards off the ball. We're in our cover 2 defense. Free safeties 12 yards off the ball as a robber. As we play through this, you'll see what you will see is our defensive line get off into the line of scrimmage and attack right away. You'll see our outside backers get their run read and attack run. Our linebackers inside see their run keys and attack there. We have a guard pull. A guard pull, and our backers look to fill. Okay, in this formation, you see you have twin set out here that allows us to walk our backer a little bit outside here. He's splitting the difference. His front foot is forward, his inside foot is forward. He's looking to get 2 drop steps. Up top, our outside backer is lined up 2 by 1 there. Inside linebackers are getting off on the snap of the ball. We have our corners are playing deep in what looks like a cover 0 look. When they get a run read, they are secondary support coming up to help. Again, our defensive principles, chase and run to the ball. All players trying to get all 11 hats to the ball in that scenario. Here's a double tight set, different formation. Our basic principles for our defensive linemen stay the same. Our outside backers are now off the ball, 2 by 1 off the last man on line of scrimmage. We have an I set. Our inside backers are getting their run keys off the linemen in front of them. And our defensive line is reading on the run on the snap of the ball. So it's straight isolation. If you take a look, our defensive linemen do a great job of creating space for the linebackers to get their reads, and they get inside. The linebacker beats the block of the center. Another look at our linebacker getting a free run based on the defensive alignment. 44 gets in and makes a tackle on a belly play. Again, we're looking to get off the ball. Now this is the regional championship game against Westfield High School. They have gotten into a trips look outside. We are staying in our base coverage. You can see sink now, the coverage we talked about when we get quarter halves. These two are playing deep. The outside backer still stays in his flat zone. These guys, the inside linebackers, are looking hook to curl. A pass to the flats should be covered by the outside linebacker. Here he gets a read right away and attacks the ball. This is a regional semifinal game. Annandale High School's the opponent. They're running an isolation play. We're working hard to get off blocks on the front with our front linemen. Our linebackers are filling gaps. We have our drop steps in place. Now we're going to attack the ball with our linebackers. This clip gives you a good idea of just how hard we work on our defensive side of the ball to get our outside backers and our base coverages to run to the flats. This outside backer on the top of the screen, to the left of the screen, is going to get his 2 punch steps to read pass and turn and sprint to the flats. His job is to turn, open, and find the number 1 receiver. He does a great job of robbing that route underneath of it, and we get a very positive play out of it. He's a real quick kid that works hard on the field, and he makes the most of his opportunity and gets in there for a touchdown. This is T.C. Williams, a true option team. You can see on the sweep our pursuit. Our outside backers and inside backers are getting blocked, but we're running with our free safety and our defensive line to get to the ball there. One of the things, we are an option offense, and one of the things we work real hard, is our option responsibilities. In this clip, you'll see Chantilly High School in Chantilly, Virginia is running option at us. We have a defensive end that steps down and does his job. He does not attack quarterback, he attacks ball carrier. But more importantly, what you'll see in this clip is how hard the linebackers are working to get over top. They work inside out, quarterback to pitch, in order to keep their option responsibilities true. You can see the linebacker sprinting to their spot. The lower linebacker, outside linebacker, has gotten run read. Now he's beating his block to get inside and play his D-gap responsibility. This play right here is a good example of what we like to do out of our 4-4. We have a blitz here. We have a dog to the top side of the field. We're bringing our inside and outside backer off the edge to create pressure in a passing situation. We stay true to our principles when we do that and make sure that we're covered up behind. It's a man-to-man look there. And by being in man coverage, we're making the quarterback hold the ball a second longer, allowing our defensive front to make a successful blitz. Here we got two guys coming off the edge. When they step out to block, the defensive end runs free to the quarterback, creating a turnover for us. Another look at our pass coverage. It's good. It's a good thing to see. You have a receiver at the lower end. We have our outside linebacker. He's walked up there. He's got an idea that something's going on outside. He's going to get his drop steps and turn and sprint. Now, if the number one receiver runs a deep inside route, you should see help from the cornerback. And if the safety gets the right read from his number 2 strong receiver, which is to the top of the field, he should be able to help out as well there. Let's see what we get out of our pass front. We drop into the flats. We get ball pressure there with our defensive line, and our free safety is over the top of number 2. Here's a good look at our pass coverage to a cover 2 set, to a twin set out of our cover 2 look. We have a receiver at the bottom of the screen here and another receiver in the slot. We are splitting the difference with our outside backer. He's going to take his 2 drop steps and work real hard to cross the face of number 2 as our base defensive coverage. The cornerback is going to cover his deep half, and number 2, the free safety, reads 2 strong, as we said in our slide. 2 strong sitting at the bottom of the screen. If anything goes past the flats, then what we're going to have is a safety and a corner converging on the ball. Also in our pass rush, when our defensive line gets a pass rush, they're trying as hard as they can to make a move to the quarterback and getting their hands up in the passing lanes. All of those things, those fundamentals happen in this play to give you a good look. Here our defensive end gets his hands up. You can see how hard the outside linebacker is working to rob number 1, and the backer is running to his hook curl zone. Here's another good look at our base alignment and our cover 2 principles. The linebacker's tight to the line even though he has a wide side of the field. He's giving the impression he's on a blitz look. He's going to give a 2-step read and then punch out. Now as the ball goes deeper to the outside of the field, we have a free safety helping to rob and a corner converging on the ball. You can see both of those players get involved in the passing game by staying in their zone and reading the routes correctly. Outside backer sprinting to the flat here. Over top of that is a corner route. Both the free safety and the corner get to the ball at the same time. Now that you've gotten a look at what we do with our base 4-4 look, we're going to walk you through some of the changes we made as we went through our state playoff run. When we got to the regional finals this year, we were facing a zone offensive team. They ran the ball real well. We played them a lot. They understood our defense. They had a great coaching staff. They game planned us well in the regular season. And we felt as a staff we needed to make a change. And this is where our core principles came into play. Our coaches communicated real well about what we wanted to do to come up with a way to stop their offensive attack. And by doing so, we got our offensive coaches involved, and we came up with what we call a 53 special, which is essentially a 5-3 defense, putting more men committed to the run on the line of scrimmage and eliminating what we considered to be the biggest problem in facing this offense was their cutback zones. This defense moved our linebackers up to the line of scrimmage and gave them run responsibility first, whereas in our 4-4 defense, they were pass responsibility first. Let's go through a couple slides for you to show you kind of how we aligned and what our rules were. Now remember, we told our players we felt like this is what we needed to do to get out of our base defense in order to be successful. They needed to learn a new defense. However, we worked very hard to not change how we articulate our defense, the terminology we use, all of those things. We kept the players, the assignments the same as much as we could. In our special personnel, you can see now that we've moved to a true, what looks like a 5 front by taking our tackle and putting him over top of the center. He was a 2-gap player. The nose is playing inside eye of the tackle now, which is not an unusual position for him to be in. He's usually in a 3 technique to the strong side of the ball, but when he's in a 1 technique, he has an inside gap there that he has to maintain from a 1 technique. All we've done is move him 1 gap out and asked him to play the same technique from a different position. Same is true for the Sam, or the stud end that we have there. The S there, he is on an inside eye of the tackle, which is exactly where he would be if he was on the tight end. He would be on the inside eye 7 technique. Now he's moved down to the inside eye of the tackle. The end is playing a little bit more head up than he normally does, and our whip linebacker, we walked up on the ball and gave him the assignment of being opposite the tight end. Our linebackers changed their alignment just a tad. The Mike linebacker middled up, and the rover and backer both played on the C gap of the offense. The corners were in man coverage, and if we got a twin set, as we have on this slide, those corners would walk over. The free safety played the tight end or number 1 to the weak side of the passing formation. Simple rules we put in place. For our special defense, we stayed in cover 6, which is our man principle. We did not play 6 free. That slide we showed in our base defense allows the free safety to rob and help. In cover 6, it is straight man. The free safety is assigned to man. The end plays to the tight end is a rule. The tackle plays over the center. The rover always goes to the passing strength. And it's in our defense, we call both a run strength and a passing strength, so we get 2 calls on in our defensive package. Versus a 3 receiver set or more, or anything we felt real uncomfortable in, we would go back and check to G, cover 2. Because we did not change our personnel off the field, we could move from a 5-3 look to a 4-4 look just by checking back into our base defense. This next slide is going to show you some different, our gap control responsibilities with some different formations that we felt like we needed to be prepared to face. The first is a tray look with 2 flankers over a tight end. Because it's a 2 tight end look, we asked the will linebacker to go opposite the strong tight end, and he played on an inside eye or head up, cheating to the inside eye. The stud end played B gap. The tackle was our only 2 gap player. In our base alignment, he would read run in the block of the center and worked across face and play 2 gaps. The nose played the B gap. The end played the C gap. That left the backer and the rover free to run contain to the D gap. The corners were assigned to the wideouts. The rover on a pass read had the number 3, and the free safety played number 1 to the weak side. Now versus twins, our pass coverage remained the same. We felt like if we had a backer out of the backfield, or I'm sorry, if we had a running back out of the backfield, we needed to assign somebody to that. The corners were playing number 1 and 2 man up. The free safety was man up on the tight end, and then anybody that came out of the backfield was assigned to the 3 inside backers. Again, the whip had no pass responsibility. That was the major change in this defense. If he had a pass read, his job was to attack quarterback. Here's a straight pro eye look. Strength is to the offense's left, the defense's right. There's our assignments in terms of how we're going to cover the number 1 and number 2 receivers. Again, the free safety is locked up on the tight end. The corners are locked up on the outside receivers. Any backs out of the backfield were assigned to the linebackers. Versus a 2 tight end, 2 flanker set. Again, we felt like this is putting us in a pass vulnerability. However, we were willing to be patient in that because we were so committed to stopping their number one person. The best personnel on the field was their running back, not to slight the wide receivers or quarterback, which were very talented, but the running back was the guy that we wanted to key on. So we went ahead and gambled, played with our free safety, Rob, manned up on number 2 weak, and our outside linebacker was manned up on number 2 strong. Corners, again, stay outside, manning up the wide receivers. This is just another look versus a different set versus spread. We were prepared to handle a 4 receiver set even out of a run look. As you can see there, our corners have number 1 and 2 to the passing strength. Whip has no pass responsibility. Our backer and free safety both played over top of number 1 and 2 to the opposite side of the cornerbacks. If we felt teams were really spreading us out, trying to get us out of that 5-man front, then we would just go right back to our G look, walk our whip off the line of scrimmage, and play a 4-4 base cover look and run cover 2 out of it, where we felt most comfortable in a zone look. We felt like this was a true passing formation for them. Again, as we said earlier, in pass formations, when we get trips looks, we would not stay in our 5-man front, but because our personnel was consistent, we were able to get back into our base and core principles of a quarter, half defensive secondary against a trips or 3 receiver or more look. This is a look at our 53 special here on film. You can try to get a good look at our alignment. This is again against LC Bird in the state semifinals. We initially installed this to stop a zone run scheme, but we felt like they were so heavy on the run that maybe by switching up our alignment on defense, we could give them some troubles in the run as well. But just so you understand, we have a 1 receiver set. Our corners manned up here. We have corner to the top of the screen manned up. The strongest tight end is down here. We put our end to him just as we said we would do. We took our whip, put him outside on the ball, on the line of scrimmage to the other tight end. Our Mike is centered up over top of the nose guard. Our linebackers here are now starting to move around a lot in this defense, and they're creeping as you see here. Now on the snap of the ball, we're going to get our run reads and attack upfield as best we can to stop their best run player, which was their tailback. That film right there shows you a good example of what we do, what we try to do to run to the ball, trying to get 11 hats to the ball as quick as we can. A good physical, hard-nosed team. We were able to, with our defensive philosophy of run to the ball, stop them there. Here's another look at our 50 front. Nose tackle, you can see, is right over top of the ball. Mike linebackers lined up right behind him. Linebackers to either side of the Mike are free to run, contain outside. We have a 1 receiver set, which puts man-to-man up top. Our corner is playing number 1 down low, the tight end. Our free safety is playing the number 2 to the passing strength. Take a look here as we play this forward at how hard our linebackers work to get through to fill gaps and run responsibilities, and then we chase to the ball. Here's another look. Our defensive tackles have been playing that inside eye look throughout our base coverage. Just because they're 1 man out, they still feel comfortable getting into their gap by crossing face. They do so here and are able to disrupt the play. Again, our linebacker alignment, you can see our free safety's playing 2 to the strength in a double tight set. Our corners off, playing number 1 to the weak side and number 1 outside up top. Once we get a run read, we're attacking the ball and attacking the line of scrimmage. linebacker and nose play a game there to get themselves in on the tackle. This clip ought to give you a good idea of how we pursue as a defense. We get caught in a real good blocking scheme by LC Bird. They're able to get on our defensive end and our outside linebacker. The inside tackle does a great job redirecting and getting upfield. Our free safety and corner both do a great job converging once they get a run read, providing support to the outside. Take a look at how we pursue the ball on this drill and work hard to make a tackle in the backfield. The next clip gives you an idea of what we're doing in pass coverage. The free safety has number 2 to the passing strength on this, manned up. He has a drag route. He steps in front there, makes a good play to break up the ball near the goal line. Okay, in this clip we have the short passing game. They have hitches. You can see we're still in our special front. The defensive backs are locked man-to-man. The free safety's over top, helping out over number 2 strong, the tight end. Again, a good look at how we defended pass out of our man principle, our cover 6 look, and then pursued to the ball. Again, our core principles are we want our defense to run to the ball. So here we get an out, and all our defensive, including linemen, are trying to get to the ball and make a tackle. In this clip, and watching it, it looks a lot to us like there's 10 players on offense. However, it's a great look at what our 50 front looks like. Again, you see our defensive end, our whip linebackers in a stand-up position, one by one off the ball, just as he would be in our base defense. However, in this scenario, he's run responsibility only. He's going to see counter trey coming to him. He's going to work to build a wall and force that ball outside, and we're going to pursue with our linebackers over top once they get a pull read. This is a real good clip of how hard our kids work to get to the ball carrier. Here we build a wall. You see our outside linebacker contain, and everybody get to the sideline to make a tackle. 53, we designed it for this team. It was set up to stop the tailback in this offense who's going to Penn State. Another good look at our principles. Our top of the screen, you have man-to-man coverage. Our linebacker here is working to get outside. Alley player, free safety, is lined up over top of the tight end. Here, our outside linebacker, our whip, is playing over top of the tackle one by one in a flat stance. He's no longer getting his drop steps because we know he has no pass responsibility. Mike linebacker is going to work hard to read the blocks as well as the inside linebackers and make a play. Our defensive line does a great job getting off the ball, and we converge on the run here. One other comment about this play. In the past, because our defense was working so hard to punch out, we were giving cutback lanes. You can see number 1 working hard to get down the line of scrimmage and eliminate cutback lanes in all of these clips here. Here again, no cutback lanes. We're pursuing to the ball, stopping the run at the line of scrimmage. Now we have twins, again to the tight end side. We get a run read inside, and we're able to get to the ball carrier with our defensive line. This is the regional final here on our home field. Again, let me go back and explain to you. The philosophy here is we're in man-to-man coverage up top. Our free safety's down at the bottom reading the tight end. He has number 2 out of the backfield. He's going to help hook the curl. This guy has no pass responsibility. He gets a pass read. He needs to attack the quarterback and disrupt the play. He gets down the line of scrimmage a little bit, but he breaks his habit of getting out and pass and helps out pressuring the quarterback. We're able to converge on the ball and run, stop the play for a short gain. Another great job by having our man on the line of scrimmage. Here, the play is set up to run inside because we're so heavy on the inside. The running back gets a bounce read. He wants to bounce outside, and typically we would have not had a man there to get pressure on the runner and keep him contained, he would have had a head start, and as dangerous as he is, a head start would have meant a touchdown. Here we're on the line of scrimmage, we're staying flat and forcing him to run into the arms of a defender, and then we're going to pursue so that we don't get beat by a missed tackle. Great job by all of the defensive guys getting to the ball. Here what we have in this clip is a pass formation. We have two receivers down low. We have the corners covering them locked up man. The free safety is covering backside tight end. And we have the outside linebacker getting a pass read and helping out down the field. This gives us an opportunity to get over top and make an interception in the end zone and help us preserve a win. Again, free safety gets a good read, good break on the ball, makes an interception in the end zone. Because we're so devoted as a defense to stopping their primary threat, this clip gives you a great idea of what we did to work to the ball carrier. The I-back here, the tailback, is the premier player on this defense, on this offense. Our defense, we've assigned in option rules 2 men to the pitch man. We're asking our middle linebacker to scrape hard inside out to the quarterback. We showed you a little bit of that in the first film with the defensive end making a tackle on the fullback and then us helping out. Here now the fullback, we get a pull on the fullback, the quarterback keeps the ball, and our linebackers in their pursuit get to the quarterback. But as a note, watch how hard the two outside players work to get to their primary threat and keep him from getting the ball. They run to the ball carrier, and inside the linebacker runs inside out to make a tackle near the goal line. Finally, we're in a pass situation. We're getting pressure upfield with our defensive line. We're running, and our outside linebacker closes on the ball to make a tackle and end the game. Okay, let's take a quick second here to review what we've gone through to this point. In the beginning of the film, we've talked about our base 4-4 alignment, which we played for 11 games out of our season. And then we, in a week, installed a 5-man front, a 50 front that we used for the regional final game and the state semifinal game against a very run-oriented, heavy run tendency teams. We were excited about doing it. Our kids were excited about changing up, doing something new, trying something different. It worked out great, but reality set home when we went to play the state finals. We were playing Lansdowne High School out of Hampton, Virginia. They were a powerhouse. They had the parade, one of the Parade All-American finalists at wide receiver and quarterback. He was going to go to he goes to Florida. He signed a full ride to Florida University. His wide receiver mate is going to Florida State. The quarterback is going to East Carolina. They were a great passing, high-scoring, prolific offense. So we had to come up with a new and exciting way to stop that defense and give our kids the sense that no matter what we lined up in, we were in great shape to stop that defense and win a state title. So what we came up with was a variation of our 5-3. What we took our linebackers, who we'd worked real hard to teach them to play up on the line of scrimmage, and we moved them off the ball. And now we ended up looking more like a 3-5 team than a 4-4 or a 5-3 team. It wasn't that difficult to do. It was something our kids started to catch on to right away. We showed them a lot of work. We had a week to install it, but we felt like, again, staying true to our principles of alignment and assignment, of making sure that we pursue to the ball carrier, making sure when we get there we make good, strong tackles, and that we communicate with each other on the field and to our coaching staff off the field. We kept those core principles in place. We could put a defensive program together to stop one of the most prolific scoring offenses in the history of the state of Virginia. As we began to game plan for Lansdowne in the state championship game, we recognized that there's some things we wanted to be sure that we could do. We had changed our defense to stop run in the past 2 weeks, and now we wanted to encourage the run because we felt like the primary threats were on the outside as wide receivers. And so what we were going to do is give up a little bit in our run game defense, but be very solid in our pass game defense and be able to give the defensive or the offensive coaches on Lansdowne's sideline a lot to look at and determine where we were on the field. It was brand new to them. and they hadn't seen it on film. They hadn't been able to scout it, primarily because it was brand new to us, but we felt like that gave us the best chance. So as we went through, we broke down our responsibilities, and you can see here now that our defensive front looks a lot different than it did when we started out the video. We are now a 3 down lineman set. However, the nose that plays over top of the center in 2 gaps, he'd been doing that for a good 2 weeks now as we installed the 50. The end and the stud were very familiar with their alignment over top of the tackles because they've been doing that for a while. This gave us the opportunity to drop our outside defenders into the flats. If you take a look, we have K there representing the extra linebacker who was really a whip all season long. His drops now to the flats have not changed. The whip and has also been playing all season long, working on getting to the flats. The middle backer, the Mike and the Rover are now hooked to curl in middle of the field in our cover 0 principle, which gives them exactly the same look they'd been getting for the last few weeks. So although the change looks significant on paper, in reality, teaching it and implementing it were not very difficult because our kids were familiar with the ideas that we had in place. Cover 0 does exactly what it's always done. It puts our corners and our free safety in the deep thirds. It's the traditional cover 0 that everybody has in place in their defense. We just had now 5 men underneath covering their zones for underneath pass plays. As an idea what we could do to make sure that we covered all our gaps, again, we are a gap principled team through our 4-4. We wanted to make sure that when we set ourselves up in our 3-5 look, we could cover all the gaps. The nose played both A gaps. He was a 2-gap player. The end and the stud did exactly as we have talked about in the past. They got on into the B gap, which is something they're not unfamiliar with. And then the outside backers of the 3 backers that we had lined up over the ball were outside support and contain. The middle backer there is free to run now. He's got a position to read the run pass set and get to the ball without fearing offensive line getting up to him and blocking him. Our gaps are pointed out to you. Our corners were secondary run support coming from the outside in, and our free safety is asked to run the alley, which he's always done in his base defense. In addition to that, we found that the 3-5 allowed us great opportunity to blitz. Great opportunity to blitz. So we put some blitzes in to give you an idea of how varied we could get in our look. This was a shotgun team, a no-huddle team that we were playing. We wanted to make sure that when they lined up, their pre-snap read was different all the time. We asked our backers to move all over the place. We asked them to move around, to prowl, to get up close to the line of scrimmage, to move back and then come, do a bunch of different things to keep the offense on its toes. Here's a good look at what we call a Rover Fire. It's just a game with the defensive end sparking away and the Rover coming inside. Here we have we call it K was the monster linebacker. He could creep up and come, and we could still be fine in our cover 0 principle. 3 deep, 4 under with our Rover getting to the flats and our Will getting to the flats. This is if you had that K marked as a tackle or a defensive end rushing, it would look very much like what our 4-4 looks like. Our defensive players in the secondary are the 7 secondary players we have very comfortable in this with a monster fire, bringing a different look to their offense, but not to our defense. Here we could play a game right over top of the nose with the middle backer, sending our nose tackle one way and a next stunt with the middle backer and getting upfield. Again, our zones are covered. We're giving up a little in the middle, but the free safety hasn't left the middle of the field. We're still in a 3-deep principle. In what we called a monster defense, we were able to lock on to number 11 on Lansdowne, which was the All-American going to the University of Florida as a wide receiver and track athlete. We put a linebacker out on him and manned him up all over the field. No matter where his alignment was, we could afford to put a player on him because we didn't feel like we were giving up and our defensive secondary are pass principles in the 3-deep zone. So here's a look at an alignment with the number 11 playing in a different spot on the field. A different coverage to cloud is a variation of our cover 2 principle that we go through. What that did was it allowed our corners to stay in the flats. We put a linebacker back on the hash as a safety. Our free safety played a hash, and now we were in our hook to curl zones and our flat zones. It left the 2 of the outside backers free to blitz or to play a man look or rob a receiver that we wanted to rob. We did not give up the flats of the hook to curl or the deep halves in this formation. Okay, as we started to get into what we could do with this defense, we got real excited about the idea of being able to bring heat from either side of the field and either side of the ball. So here we have a scheme that we called a monster and a Mike fire, which brought outside pressure from both of our linebackers. Cover 2 cloud was our base coverage in this scenario, and you can see there that when we say cloud, what we're saying is our corners are hard in the flats, which is opposite of what we talked about when we went to our base cover 2, where the corners were in our deep half look and the free safety was robbing. In this scenario, we have a cloud. It means our corners are hard on the ball, 5 yards in the flats, and our inside backers are hook to curl zone. Our free safety and our strong safety, which we call whip in this scenario, they are on the hashes playing deep halves to give ourselves help over top of any deep threat. But as you see, we started to blitz a lot in this. We have our monster back and our Mike linebacker coming off the edge, and we would disguise that by getting the inside backers involved and moving around, prowling up to the line of scrimmage and jumping back in their coverage. It got to be a lot of fun for our kids because they were able to move around, they were able to make the offense guess, they got real excited about what they could do. Here's just another simple blitz that we had on. It allowed us to blitz from the inside instead of the outside. Because we had 5 linebackers, we could cover hard with our corners on the flats. We could use our safeties over top to help us out. And then our monster backer and our Mike backer got the hook curl zone while our inside backers ran inside and gave us pressure through the B gaps. Another game we played, and you'll see that as we went through this, what worked best for us was bringing 1 player from each side so we could bring 2 at a time, but we were never giving up an entire zone because we always have a linebacker prepared to drop into the hook curl zone and give us help. So again, you see a 2 cloud coverage, but now we're bringing the monster and the backer instead, so we have outside and inside pressure there, and not necessarily just outside and just inside pressure. Another look, same blitz, different side. Our linebackers became interchangeable at this point as we taught this because they were so excited about getting inside and getting in on a blitz coverage. Corners maintained their discipline on the hard outside flat look, and our safeties stayed over top in their 2 deep coverage. Okay, and then as we talked about in cover 0 monster, if we called a monster and cover 2 cloud, it allowed our outside linebacker to line up over top and play man all over the field against their All-American. This allowed us to bring pressure, and it allowed us to never give up a zone that we wanted to give up. So we bracketed their best player and made them go somewhere else. Again, the theory behind all of this and why we were doing this for Nike Coach of the Year clinics, it was because we had decided as a defense we were going to stop their primary player. This coverage right here is a great example of us changing out of our 4-4 look and giving up a little bit of our run principles, but staying true to our pass principles to stop a primary player. We've devoted a lot of attention to their outside game. Now, we could stay in our bracket coverage with our monster lined up over top of their All-American and still bring heat. And as these slides go through, you'll see that we have the same nose stunts, the same outside stunts, and bringing guys from 2 sides of the ball, never giving up the run principle we have. Here's a rover fire bringing just 1 linebacker and playing a game with the defensive end. This is a Mike backer, same blitz, opposite side. Again, now the defensive end's running hard inside, and then Mike is coming over the top outside to bring pressure on the quarterback. Again, guys are getting to the flats, the safeties are staying in their high cover 2 look. A different look we gave them was a cover 9 look. This was now a quarters, what we call a quarters defense zone. The cornerback, the free safety, the strong safety, which we called whip, and the opposite corner all got into a deep quarter look, and then we flattened out underneath and had 4 guys playing underneath the zone. This was a way to change up the defense's read. It was no longer 2 hard corners. It was no longer 2 safeties playing too deep. It was now 4 guys deep and 4 guys underneath, and we're going to try to create pressure with our front 3 getting to the line of scrimmage, or getting to the quarterback off the line of scrimmage. Monster, again, as stayed in our cover 9 quarter principle, but because we had the extra linebacker, we made a switch and committed to covering this guy. We were able to get out and play man on their primary threat and stay zone behind it and not get beat by guys that were what we considered secondary receivers, although they were very, very talented receivers. Could be number 1 receivers in most schools in America. Cover 5 was a man-to-man coverage that we put in that we could, so that if we had to, we could go man, but we were going to stay over top with zone and give help on the deep ball. This is This is called a 2-lock in many circumstances. We're locked up man-to-man across the front, but we're keeping 2 safeties free to help out over top. Okay, here's a set of clips detailing the 3-5 in the state championship game. Okay, this is a shot of our defense, our 3-5 defense against Lansdowne in the state final down in Hampton, Virginia. What you'll notice, we have 3 down linemen and we have our linebackers spread out. I'm not the defense coordinator of our team, and I'm very proud of what we've accomplished with this defense against such a prolific offense. What I asked out of our defense was that we move all the time and change our coverages all the time to try to give the offense reason to hesitate, allow our rush to get to the quarterback and give us a chance to win the game with the ball in our hands on offense. They did a magnificent job doing this. You can see in these clips how hard our kids work to get to the flats, how hard they work to tackle and pursue. That's the key to that was a core principle of our defense from the beginning, and even though we look a lot different than we do in our basic 4-4, we haven't given up those principles. Let's go through some of the tape here. Down at the bottom of the screen, you see our monster linebacker is locked up with their best receiver. They're in a spread look. Our corners are moving around. They're going to drop into a cover 3. Our linebackers are stand up here, 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 and here. They're moving all over the place, showing blitz, then backing off, showing blitz, then backing off. Then when they get a pass read, they're going to sprint to their assignment. So their alignment's true, and their assignment on the snap of the ball, they're going to make sure they get to. Here's a great look. Our linebackers sprinting to the flat coverage and giving them difficulty making a catch. Okay, in this cut here, you see they have a little bit of a different formation. We've walked our outside linebackers up. If we're thinking run here, they have motion on, and our monster back is locked up man-to-man on the top of the screen. Because we're man-to-man there, and they've given us a run look, we're allowing our backers to have a blitz read and go ahead and take off for the quarterback. This gets pressure on the quarterback. The man-to-man coverage up top makes it difficult to get a ball off quickly, and he has zone help over the top of the defense so that nothing gets beat deep. The result is a real good play for us. We're locked up man. We force the quarterback out of his safety net, and we get a sack. This clip shows you trips to one side. We're still okay. We're fundamentally sound in our base zone coverages. We are lined up top with the cornerback creeping, but he's really got a deep third there. But what we do have is inside backers walked up on the line of scrimmage. They're going to back off on the snap of the ball, and we're going to bring a Mike fire from up top, which is something we talked about earlier. You can see what we have on paper translating to what we do in the field. Because the defensive end stunts real hard inside, the Mike is free off the backside to make a sack. You see the backers jump out. Now the Mike gets a free run at the quarterback, and we have a sack on their pass play. Now we have a true run look. We've walked our backers up. This is a 53 look for us. Our guys are now loosening up. We ask them to sprint to the ball and tackle hard. We do a great job on a trick play of making sure that we get to the tackle. A good look, and again, at pursuit, we widen out, watch the nose tackle sprint to the ball on a short flat. He makes a tackle on the line of scrimmage. We're covered up there, nice and, not as nice as we want to be. In this offensive formation, they have taken their wide receiver and put him at quarterback, which indicates to us we're going to get a run there. We have walked our outside linebackers up. They are now playing exactly the same technique they would have played in the previous 2 weeks in the 50 front if they were lined up opposite the tight end. They're both playing that flat, run-only defense that we have in our 50 package. It's not a new technique for our defense. Therefore, we feel real comfortable staying in it. We don't give them running lanes, and we pursue real hard to the ball. We're able to make a good tackle on a very, very good football player once he gets into his run formation. Here you see our guys getting upfield, building a wall, and now we drag him down from behind and stop their run threat. Although we recognize that the primary threat is at the bottom of the screen and we're manned up with him, the receiver to the top of the screen has a full ride scholarship to Florida State to play wide receiver. He's an outstanding wide receiver. We were going to zone that side and give our cornerback and our free safety, who's now in his free safety is sitting in his deep third off the screen, freedom to see the route develop in front of him and then converge on the ball. So as you watch this, you'll see our guys get to the flats, to the top of the screen, the linebackers will, to give help underneath, but the corner and the free safety are expected to converge on a deep end route, which they do very well against a guy that's going to be playing at Florida State next year. Okay, here's a different look at our monster coverage. Now they've moved their primary threat to the inside position. We're manned up to him on the inside receiver to the top of the screen. The outside backers are going to run flats. We have ability to blitz from either side there. And our free safety and corners are going to play coverage over top to give us help. Once the ball is released to the flats, we want our guys to pursue the ball carrier and make a tackle on the line of scrimmage as quickly as we can. This defense, by moving around and blitzing from the outside and manning up, creates havoc and doesn't give them a real opportunity to get into a rhythm. As you'll see with this play, we are in good position running to the flats. Our blitz makes them dump, and we have a lot of support and pursuit to the ball all the way out of bounds. This cut here, as we said, we wanted them to think run so that the ball was out of the hands of their primary players. However, we had to be fundamentally sound. They are a good run team. They have athletic running backs. They have athletic quarterback. As well as we wanted them to stop the pass, we didn't want to be so weak against the run that they'd be encouraged to run the ball against us and get us out of this defense. This clip shows you how we tried to handle that by getting off the ball with our front three linemen and pursuing to the ball carrier once we got a run read. They're in their stance, they're coming off the ball, getting a run read from their offensive linemen, and then they pursue the ball as quickly as they can. So our fears of run, our defensive players helped us alleviate by being great tacklers on the line of scrimmage when they got a run read. Here you see the linebacker fill the gap, the defensive end close down, we make a tackle on the line of scrimmage. This clip's down near the goal line. They're in their same pass set. One thing we had recognized is that they are a team that loves to run crossing routes and drag routes. You are forced as a defense, because they're so talented, to man up in certain situations. Our monster back is down at the bottom of the screen. They know they got guys up top. They're thinking we're in man. And what we wanted our inside backers to do was, when they got a pass set, open to the inside receiver and then wall him. Do not allow him to get a clean run across the middle of the field. In the next few clips, as we go through our coverages, take a look at how hard the inside linebackers work to put hands on the crossing routes underneath. Here at the top of the screen, you see the inside receiver. He's working to get an inside route. Our outside backer is running to the flats, reading the number one receiver. When that happens, he sees an in route and he takes off on it from the top receiver, and he's able to break up the play. This is a fourth down play for them near the goal line. It's a big defensive play for us. Again, the linebacker gets hands on the underneath route, forcing it over top where our linebacker's sitting to make a play. The drop is okay there because on fourth down we actually gain yardage there. Okay, in this clip is a great shot of our 3-5 coverages, our monster coverage especially. You can see that our down at the inside receiver to the bottom of the screen. Our linebacker is not even paying attention to the snap of the ball. He's reading the release of the offensive player. To the top of the screen, we're going to work to get to the flats. The free safety is helping out over the number 2 receiver. This gives him an opportunity to watch number 2's route, and then if he feels like he can rob number 1, he can. This is a great example of our guys on defense using the film work they had all week long to read a route, break on the ball, make a play. Also, again, keep in mind the inside routes, the drag routes that we're getting, we're trying with our linebackers to get hands-on. So there's a good look at both the linebackers underneath, getting hands-on inside routes, and the corner and the free safety over top, reading routes and making plays on the ball. So watch the lower level of your screen, linebacker gets hands-on up top, free safety runs underneath and gets hands-on in the pass play. Okay, another look at our coverage. Again, they've moved their primary threat around on the line of scrimmage. Now he's up top of the screen. Down at the lower level, you're going to see an outstanding job. Everything we would want in technique in terms of walling the inside receiver. We put him on the ground. Now, because we have man coverage as it looks to a quarterback on the inside receiver, we have zone coverage over top. The number 1 receiver to the top, very top of the screen is going to run a hitch route, and our corner, because he's playing deep thirds, is going to get a great break on the ball and break up the pass play. So again, lower level of the screen, you'll see a great job by the linebacker opening to the number 2 receiver and walling him. You're going to see at the top of your screen a great job by the secondary getting a read on the route and breaking on the ball to break it up. Here at the lower level, we put him on the ground. He goes to the out route, and we're able to break on it and make a nice play there. This clip will give you a great idea of just how well this bracketing, man coverage underneath and zone coverage over top works. They run a very, very good route here where they rub, their number 1 receiver rubs our linebacker who's manning up their primary threat on the ball. What's going to happen is he's going to be bumped off his coverage, but we're not in man, so the cornerback is allowed to let the number 1 receiver go free inside and stay over top of the primary threat, forcing the ball out of bounds even though they're in good scoring position because they've taken away our man coverage by rubbing off of him on the route. And take a look here as number 1 for the defense gets bumped, the linebacker gets bumped, and then our corner picks up over top. Here they come on an inside route, get a pick play, but we haven't let go of our coverage. We force them out of bounds on the ball. In this clip, again, they have their primary threat to the top of the ball, and we're in our monster look. We're manned up on him all over the field, but we're zoned behind it. As we've discussed over and over, our film work is important to us in route recognition. And here you'll see, as the play develops, our free safety steps into the middle, reads the route, and runs on it and makes a great interception late in the 4th quarter, helps us preserve the game, helps us kill a rally for them, and turns the ball over to our offense to help us win the game. So we're going to get pressure from our front 3. Again, our linebackers underneath are moving around all the time, and we're disguising our coverages, but really we're staying in our base cover 3 principle, and our free safety gets a great look at the ball and is able to make a pick. Here you'll see him come into the screen at the top. He picks the ball off, and we're off to the races. Okay, the last play here again, our monster look. You're going to see at the bottom of your screen the linebacker lined up on their primary threat. As he motions, we move with him. We stay in zone coverage behind it. And one thing, that all quarterbacks look at is when you motion and you got somebody running with you, your automatic assumption is that you have a man coverage. So by giving that man look, it looks like we have nobody covering the flats against their number 1 receiver. But the truth of the matter is we've stayed in our basic cover 3 look, and when the ball is released to the flats, we have a linebacker running to the flats to make a tackle on the line of scrimmage. So you can see us moving at the bottom of the screen with motion and then sprinting to the flats and making a good tackle to the top of the screen. Here's a look at the last clip we have. And there's a tackle on the ball, good chase by the rest of the guys. Throughout the clinics we've done, many times coaches have come to us and asked us what we did that was so much different or so much more special than anybody else in our area had done to stop the different offensive weapons that we faced in the last few weeks of our season. And the reality is that there's really not much different we've ever done than what we do every single day. Although it may look complicated, by changing your defensive fronts, it is really not, as long as you stay true to your most basic principles. I'm lucky enough as a head coach to have an outstanding coaching staff, a defensive coordinator who's creative and willing to try things, and coaches who work hard to teach the kids not only what to do on the field, but how to envision themselves in the big picture. So the keys to our success, again, as we see them, so that you can hopefully apply some of those to what you do in your coaching scheme. Let your coaches coach as a head coach. Make sure that they are involved in your program. Make sure that they bought into what you're doing and they have ownership over parts of what they do. Also, we want our students and our athletes to have a great football IQ. We want them to understand situations, no matter where it occurs on the field or when it occurs in the season. They're not met by surprise. We prepare them the best we can. We want to teach our kids the big picture, and then we want to teach them their role inside that picture. And so they have a small part that they learn, and they learn why their small part is important to our program. The last thing we do is we study a ton of film. All those things are not schemes. They're not things that you do by placing a player this place or that place to stop an offense. All those are is working very hard at your craft. Our kids do a great job of following what the coaching asks them to do, and then our coaches do a great job of coming up with ways to motivate them day in and day out. Hopefully, by giving you a look at what we've done over the last 6 or 7 weeks of our season, you'll have an idea of some things that you can do to change up the look of your defensive front and stop any opponent's primary offensive threat.